Today we have the congressman from Arizona's 7th Congressional District, Ruben Gallego. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
So it'd be crazy not to start with this question. Do you have any intention of running for the U.S. Senate in Arizona in 2024?
Well, I mean, intention is a very big word. Look, I'm going to get through 2022, make sure the Democrats get elected, make sure we reelect, Senator Kelly, and then we're going to make a decision in 2023 regarding this.
Data for Progress had tested Senator Sinema against you this past week, and the results came out to 74-16 in your favor. So really on the knife's edge there. Do those do those numbers have any impact on your thinking? Even as we head into these upcoming cycles.
Not really. At the end of the day, the determination is going to be by, the voters of Arizona and what they're feeling and what they're thinking. Obviously, polls are important, but, going out into the community, having town halls, just the thing that I do, and hearing people at the end of the day is going to make the biggest determination. And obviously, the support of my family is going to be the biggest determination. Great to hear polls about 74-16, but we all know that's not how this ends up. There's a lot of big money that comes in from outside, especially a lot of money that want to keep, certain corporate, very backed, senators around. And, you can't expect that to be the case. But at the end of the day, you have to want the job. You have to want to actually do the work. And you don't look at the polling, you do at the work you're going to be able to do for the citizens of Arizona. And that's what be the biggest determination of what I'm going to do.
You mentioned corporate backed candidates as a possible benefit for somebody running, but in fact that's actually seemed to be more of a liability for Senator Sinema as we head into this as we've seen this whole process play out. Now I know it's impossible to ask you to get into her head, but what do you presume is the rationale for basically abandoning the party, constituents, democracy? Like, what is the long game here that I'm missing? Maybe you have a different perspective coming from Arizona.
Well, look, I've known, Senator Sinema since we were in our mid-20s. She's a very smart, she's a very disciplined person. I think she's doing this because she believes this is her best way for re-election, for all I know, and that's all we're hearing right now. I know there's other crazier rumors, but, what she's doing it for clearly political reasons. It's my opinion that it's a very dangerous game you're playing. After what we saw January 6th, what we saw Republicans are willing to do to steal elections, whether it's passing legislation or whether it's actually trying to literally incite coups. The idea that you're going to let an arcane rule that doesn't exist in the Constitution to stop Voting Rights Act is dangerous. And so what I do know is what the people of Arizona want. And what the people of Arizona want is voting rights protections. They want politicians and senators that are responsive to the community, that show up, that are have meetings. If you're more likely to find the opinion of your elected official in a fundraising circle than in a town hall or a coffee shop, then you might need to change your elected officials.
And I think it's worth noting too that I don't believe that Senator Sinema has held a town hall in the last 3 years, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct. And look, some of it is COVID. We understand that, but this was happening before COVID. And even, right now, for example, I'm going to have a town hall next, I think Saturday. We're going to do it outside. We're going to ask people to wear masks and social distance, but we're still going to be there. And it's our job to be out there and talking. That is your rule number one and order number one of any elected official, especially in this, democracy we have right now, is to be out there and be present.
Now, you'd spoken about the filibuster. What is your stance on the filibuster with regard to not only voting rights, but also other legislation like, codifying Roe, legislation having to do with climate change and so on?
So the idea that the filibuster somehow brings, comedy and somehow brings compromise is just not true. And we know that that's not true. Some great pieces of legislation have died because of the filibuster. And if you see the history of the filibuster, it's largely been used to stop, progress on bills. And it's certainly really picked up coincidentally under the Obama administration. And so it's my opinion that, whether it's Roe, whether it's, climate change legislation, or just in general bills, you should be on the floor and you should argue for them. And you shouldn't need artificial barriers to democracy to stop the movement of bills. People vote. They vote for Congress, they vote for Senate. When they vote, they're voting with their conscience what they want and what they want to see happen. And by the way, we have to take the risk, but that means sometimes it's the opposite of that, right? If we don't have the filibuster, then some of the things that we cherish may also be up. But I believe, and Democrats should believe, that we don't need to have artificial barriers to stop legislation, because we know that is our causes, our views are popular with the American public. And it's my contention that the only reason the filibuster is around right now is because Republicans know that that is probably one of the few ways they can stop very popular legislation that is going to be accepted across the board, across the country.
I think something else that you mentioned that's worth noting is this idea that the filibuster fosters a sense of comedy, of compromise. We have the filibuster intact right now, and there's no compromise. I mean, like
Right.
everything is passing basically on a party line vote. So if your argument is that we need the filibuster because that's going to foster compromise, how do you explain the situation right in front of us?
Right. Yeah, and look, it also, there's a certain element that the American public, people in general, they get involved in politics and they vote, and it's because they want something to happen. They want to feel something, right? They either feel that someone is representing them or someone's going to go fight for them, right? And most of the time, they're not asking for miracles. They're just asking for someone to care. And a lot of times what happens is they send somebody over there and the filibuster kills it. And it actually ends up killing that momentum, that energy that happens. I mean, look at the George Floyd Act, right? We had, highest participation from, youth voters, especially voters of color, especially Black men and women. We got sent to Congress. We sent because of their participation, their vote. If it wasn't for, the Black vote, we would not have a President Biden. We would not have control of the Senate, and certainly I don't think we would have control of the House. And one of the many things they asked, but one of the things I think they specifically asked for is the George Floyd Act. Passes the House. Okay, fine. Let's go to the Senate. There is no movement in the Senate, right? There's a watered down version that the Republicans introduced. It really would not do anything in the end. And where's the compromise? What happened to it? Joe Manchin early on in the year is saying, well, I'm going to try to put a modern day Voting Rights Act that's going to get Republicans on board, so we don't have to get rid of the filibuster. What happened? Nothing, right? So clearly it's there for a reason. It's there to stop a lot of, I would say, good things. And I think it's there to stop it for some, nefarious reasons.
Arizona is obviously a major swing state as we head into 2022. What's best for your state in terms of staving off a Republican wave that history says is going to happen in a midterm cycle of a Democratic administration?
Look, we need to get some form of the Build Back Better agenda passed. I don't believe at this point we could be absolutist about that we want everything to pass. But at minimum, we're a very growing and aspirational state. We have a lot of young families that are moving here. And, we still have, high rates of poverty. So number one, the child tax credit, extremely important. It really helps working class families, especially poor families, get out of poverty. I mean, cut child poverty, at least among Latinos in Arizona by 60%. I think overall by 50% across the state. Childcare is extremely important. We have a lot of families that want to go back to work, but either can't find good and reliable childcare or can't afford it. And that impedes them from even, joining the middle class, because instead of having two parents working, one of them is staying at home and not bringing as many wages. And then, I think, other elements that are going to be extremely important that could really hugely important was, prescription drug competition. The fact that, these pharmaceutical companies are making outrageous profits for pharmaceuticals that don't cost that much to produce anymore. Insulin's a good example. If we are able to bring that in line and put those three lines, I think we have an opportunity to really hold Arizona. We have a lot of competitive seats in Arizona. We have great candidates. We're used to Arizonans having hard races. We've never really had an easy year here in Arizona when it comes to politics. But if you give us the right environment, give us the right message, we can definitely deliver in Arizona.
Speaking of legislation as it relates to Arizona, there is a new bill coming out of Arizona that's HB 2596 that was introduced by a Republican lawmaker that would give the state legislature the ability to reject the election results. So what's your response to this? And Is this the will of the state?
It doesn't surprise me. I served in the Arizona legislature for 4 years. This is the same legislature that asked for President Obama's birth certificate, passed other crazy, conspiracy theory latent bills. It's not the will of the state. This is, the legislature and people in the legislature that are voting for this. But hopefully it doesn't pass, but this is one of those crazy bills. And it's anti-democratic. You should not be able to overturn an election because you, as the legislature, feel that it did not go your way. And the problem is, given the opportunity, they will do it. The Republican legislature in Arizona will overturn an election. They've basically been pushing back against ballot initiatives that passed, trying to overturn those. So if you think that they won't overturn the presidential electors, they won't overturn senatorial electors, whatever you think, whatever vote, they will take that opportunity because they believe in absolute power. And look, the state is changing. They know it's changing. It's freaking them out that it's changing so fast. When I first got to the state house, there's only 20 Democrats and 40 Republicans. There was a supermajority of Republicans in the House and the Senate. And right now, there's only one vote separating both houses and Senate. So they know that time is running out. So instead of trying to win the future through arguments, or through debates, through policy ideas, through programs, they're just trying to rob the future and steal the votes. And it's ridiculous.
You have batshit crazy bills like this. Is it possible that they introduce bills like this so that they
look moderate when they pass other crazy shit?
Exactly. So that you introduce less extreme bills, but still dangerous ones, and like banning drop boxes, like shortening voting windows, like eliminating mail voting, and then by comparison, they won't seem as extreme.
No, especially this particular state rep is not that bright. So I would not give him that much credit.
Yeah.
But usually the simplest answer, the shortest distance from A to B is A to B, and no, they want to do this. This is what they want. The end goal is, at least here, and not Republican voters. I'm talking about Republican elected officials in Arizona. They don't believe in democracy. They don't even believe in a Republican-led form of democracy. They believe in power, and they will do whatever it takes to hold power, and we have to accept it. I think Maya Angelou has a great quote: when someone shows you who they are, believe them. We need to believe them. They're telling us what they want to do. Like, don't deny it. It's real.
I think that was perfectly put. We'll leave it there. Ruben Gallego, thank you so much for taking the time to talk. And, you're welcome back anytime, especially as we continue to head into 2024.
Excellent. Thanks for the invite. Appreciate it.